Where's TK today?
What happens when you trade your everyday routine for 2 years on the open road? We packed up our truck camper, set a budget, and hit the highway to find out in our 25-year-old Ford F-250 to explore America 1 mile at a time. From hidden gems in small towns to incredible landscapes and unforgettable adventures, we're proving you don't need a fortune to see this country. Follow along as we chase the next destination, discover new stories, and live the adventure.
Right.
We are Tom and Karen, and this is the Curious Compass.
We are in the Smoky Mountains National Park in eastern Tennessee.
Beautiful little area. I've always wanted to see the Smoky Mountains. Very overgrown, very wet, very lush.
It rained like a crazy man this morning.
But that's week 42. We're talking about week 40.
It was a big week.
Week 40 was a big week. Oh my gosh, I didn't think we did that much, but...
Didn't think so either, but as I was trying to pull all the notes together, it just didn't end. And we've got a couple little birds here that are not afraid of nothing.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a picture of them because it'll be interesting to show that. They're just popping through our little camera area.
They want to be stars. Come on up here.
Yep. Come on, we'll take you home.
I'll pet you and love you.
Yep. Back to what we were doing. Let's see.
We were leaving Chicago, and our first stop was...
Wilmington, Illinois.
Yes.
And it was one of our last stops in Illinois, but they just happened to be on Route 66, so we stopped in and they were having a festival.
Yeah, I love it when we pop into a town and run into a festival.
They were having their catfish festival. I didn't actually see a lot of catfish
Didn't see anything in the way of catfish. We had to search for some catfish lunch.
Catfish nugget days.
Yeah, they have a different color to it.
Yeah, it kind of just seemed like the standard summer fair with the vendors selling their trinkets and whatnot around the area. We did stop by the Gemini Man.
Yeah, that's got an interesting Route 66 history. It's a big fiberglass, it was a muffler man, a big fiberglass muffler man, 26 feet high. And then it was purchased and they put a helmet on it and said it was a spaceman.
And now he's carrying a rocket.
And now he's the Gemini Man.
We did, however, go kayaking on the Illinois River.
I think that would sound like fun.
Yeah, we pulled the kayak out. I was kind of surprised. The river is super wide, but it is shallow in every place that it's not dredged for the shipping route. Here we go, off onto the Illinois, what is this river? Illinois River, kayaking. And we hung up a few times.
We were more poling. We were more poling than we were paddling.
We did go into a couple of outlets, inlets, whatever you want to call them.
Depends which way you're going.
Yeah, I guess kind of which way you're going. They were kind of fun, just really overgrown and heavily wooded. We did also, while we were there, hike Starved Rock, our Starved Rock State Park.
State Park, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of the state parks in Illinois are free to enter, which is nice.
Yeah, Starved Rock was established in 1911, and it was named after this 125-foot sandstone bluff right on the river.
Yeah, there was a standoff, supposedly, and then there was some conversation as to whether it really happened or not, but it was a standoff between a couple of Indian tribes, and one stayed up on this bluff until they starved to death, so Starved Rock.
Don't be a dork. We did see the locks and the dams again on the Illinois River, same as the Mississippi or the Missouri. They have dams and locks to control the height of the water and the, what do you call that depth for the boat?
The draft?
Yeah, the draft. We hiked up to French Canyon. That was a very nice waterfall in the wintertime, I'm assuming, because there was no water.
Yeah, we haven't found a lot of water in our waterfalls yet.
No.
But it was a lovely park. Illinois does have some lovely state parks.
Well, that was Starved Rock. Starved Rock?
Starved Rock,
yeah,
state park.
State park. Super hot, super humid today.
Indeed.
Saw one lady almost having a heat stroke. Poor thing.
Saw her again at the visitor center when we left that, and she's still alive. So
Yep, she didn't die.
she survived.
So now we're gonna go back to camp, take showers, and cool off. After that, we headed to
Illini State Park, that's where we stayed the night. We couldn't find a spot in Starved Rock for Saturday night for the weekend, so we did find one outside at Illini State Park.
Yeah, it was a nice little area. Oh my gosh, it is so humid here. The window from the air conditioner being on condensates. We had the air conditioner on all night last night because it's just 78 degrees and 99% humidity. It's pretty brutal here. Even our neighbors were saying it's tough this time of year, or right now. We met both of our neighbors on each side and had conversations with them. It's always nice to talk, and it's funny when somebody walks up and says, "Hey, Tom," and you're like, "Huh?" But they scanned the QR code and it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And you know, we had a good conversation, and they are from the area. They've hiked a bunch. I am so sorry I've forgotten your names. I am horrible at that. If I literally don't write it down in the moment, I don't remember it.
Yes, I tried to steal their dog, but other than that.
We did fry some fish that night because it was super hot. We had the air conditioning, but you know, if you're gonna fry fish, fry it outside.
Yeah, 100%.
But in the process, it does leave a mess. So I was a good, responsible camper, and I cleaned up the table.
You are so good. And we stayed there because we were trying to make our way to Woodland Palace in Kewanee. It's Francis Park. And that was our only stop, and it was kind of out of the way, but seemed like totally worth it. So we thought we'd go check it out.
And it's really odd because you almost have to call for an appointment. Karen called a dozen numbers and finally got a hold of the gentleman, Rainey,
yeah.
Who said, "Oh yeah, I'll come by and open it up for you and give you a tour free of charge." And it was crazy. Fred Francis and his wife Janine started building this in 1889. He made his fortune back in the day when if you invented something when you're working for a company, you got to keep the patents and all the royalties associated with them. So he invented a way to tighten watch springs tighter, and they were giving him a penny per watch, and they made something like 30 million watches.
Crazy.
Yeah, he took 4 kerosene lamps out of Pullman cars and fabricated this chandelier.
Wow.
Beautiful.
So he was able to retire at age 32.
If you carve this by hand, and if you look inside, there's a mother of pearl inlaid in there, and it looks like she's looking at the reflection of the moon on a lake.
And that's when he moved to this place outside of Kewanee and buy this acreage and start building his house.
It was a fascinating house. In the description that I found online, I thought it was something that Tom would find really interesting as far as the engineering of the house itself. And then when we got there and Rainey was showing us around, the whole thing was fascinating. Fred and Jeannie were both fascinating. The house was fascinating. It was definitely worth the stop.
Yeah, he was an atheist. He said he won't discuss religion. There's no reason to because there's no point in it. She was religious, but they had a type of relationship that he would still take her to church on Sundays and wait outside for his wife to get out and then bring her home.
Yes, and he took her there by putting her on a platform on the front of his bike because he also didn't believe in modes of transportation that weren't self-propelled. So no cars, no horses. It was either him walking or riding a bike.
He built this 2,000-gallon cistern out in front of the house so he could have fresh water. It was done through a rain collection stuff, dumped it through a bunch of sand and a bunch of charcoal to filter the water for the house. Then he had a water pump inside of the house. They didn't have electricity, but they had a windmill out on the farm, and it ran a drive shaft into the house because he also didn't believe in stale air. So he had fans in the house that would circulate air. So this is a drive shaft that came from the windmill outside and would come to this power takeoff unit here. And the gear reduction, you have a direct drive to his mill for grinding his food. And then here he had a chain that would run up to here. And then he had a clutch mechanism here that he would control the engagement or disengagement. This would do a bell crank that would operate his lathe. And then he'd have a power takeoff. So the chain would come up here to this, This would disengage the lathe, but then this would spin multiple speeds. He also had this big pulley here. And you can see the mechanism. Now it's pushing the foot pedal. But then this pulley would drive these belt over here to this pulley, which would drive this shaft over here, that pulley, and then we go down through the workbench to the pulley there. That would operate the fan that pulled air from the underground air cistern and would push cold air through this tube here. It would chill the area out. Very ingenious. Fred was hell of a guy for a good idea. Here's his workbench. There's the outdoor windmill. It'd be up here. And the shaft that would go into the house. Heck of an inventor. Thanks, Fred. Very interesting.
Yes, he was also a nudist, so he did not like wearing clothes or shoes, and felt like being connected to the ground was a way to stay healthy as well. And his wife was very modest, so a story went, as towns started getting bigger and started moving out towards them, she had him build hedges all around by the road, chest high, so he could still walk around naked, but she didn't have to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Everybody's seeing him walk around naked.
Yeah. And his nakedness wasn't because he was voyeurism or anything like that. It was because it was called an air bath. Because his skin needed to be in contact with the air, his feet needed to be in contact with the ground, and he was very advanced and before his time. Now it's kind of a lot of that hippy dippy stuff, which is, hey man, work for him.
Yeah, he is fascinating. The way they made their relationship work, he was a vegetarian vegan and she was not. So he set up the kitchen that all of that could be kept separately, and they could still live happily and like eat at their different tables. Yeah. It was an interesting relationship.
If you ever have the opportunity, look up Fred Francis and the Woodland Palace. We also stopped in Peoria in Illinois because they had the Caterpillar Tractor Museum. I was hoping there'd be a tour, but no, it was just a bunch of stuff that, very nice. They had that monster dump truck there that was half real, half not. The tires weren't real because, those tires are like $100,000 a piece.
What were they? They weren't tires?
Plastic.
Oh.
Just plastic mold injections that they used to build the model. In Peoria, they also have the largest solar system model.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. We have reached Venus. Now we're heading to Earth. Ha!
And when Tom originally mentioned it, I thought, oh, hanging from the ceiling or whatever. But it's not. You don't just see it. It's placed all over town. So you have to walk all over town to find different parts of the planet that would be in their perspective. And it was just scale too, like something like 1 like that.
99 million to 1 scale. Earth, the final frontier. Wah, wah, wah.
These are the voyages of the curious compass.
Very nice. That's quite a bit of a walk from, what was it, Venus over there?
Yes.
Yeah, to Earth. Here it is. I think that's our destination, Earth.
It's smaller than I was expecting.
Yeah. So there we go, exploring the solar system.
We got 2.
Yeah, we got 2 because technically with this scale of even 99 million to 1 ratio, the farthest planet is 30 miles from the sun. So we're not going to do that today.
No, cool concept though.
Yeah. It is the most complete and largest scale solar system ever in the world, so they say.
And it's spread out among, I don't know, how many miles from?
30 miles.
30 miles across for the whole thing?
30 miles from the sun to the farthest planet.
Very neat.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And gets you outside.
Yeah.
And we're outside.
And after that, it was all about Lincoln.
Yeah, it's all Lincoln from that point on, baby. We did stop by Lincoln's New Salem.
Mm-hmm. That was a reconstruction. They moved the houses. There was 23 structures of an 1830s village. And in 1930s, 1940s, they moved all of these structures back into New Salem. And this is where Lincoln lived from 1831 to 1837. And they had plaques all around telling you what each house was, etc. And it was more or less like a mall. That was where you went to go to the blacksmith, the post office, etc. So that was interesting. Everybody just basically left the town in 1836 or 37 to head to Petersburg.
Yeah, it was basically the town was drying up. The river wasn't enough to support steamboats in it, so they all moved to what was up and coming, the biggest town. And they didn't just move; they pulled their houses up and took their houses with them and reset them up in Petersburg.
Fred Flintstone, he just with his feet outside the car,
Yeah.
They just lifted up their houses and walked on over to Petersburg and stuck everything down. And that's where they lived. And then we got to see our next state capital. I think it was our 10th on the trip now.
Illinois State Capitol in Springfield.
That was a pretty building. It was completed in 1888 and $4.5 million.
Back then?
That's a lot of freaking money for it. And it was one of the tallest domes too. It's 405 feet. Actually, it is the tallest traditional dome capital.
Hey, welcome to the Illinois State Capitol. You guys are free to take any photos or anything that you'd like, and if you have any questions at all, feel free. Yeah, board such as above me, you have Lady Justice. She's trampling gold coins, representing that true justice can't be bought. And then in wallpaper and tiny gold lettering, you can see the word justice printed out.
Bathroom tours of the Illinois State Capitol. Oh, it's a single slot. So, works.
In Springfield, there's also the Lincoln's Home, the National Historic Site. This was the only house that Lincoln ever owned, and he bought it in 1844 for $1,500.
Yeah, the whole neighborhood is preserved, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, him and his wife, Mary Todd, lived there for 17 years and then moved to the White House in 1861.
For a while, we think Will and Tad had a trundle bed that would pull out from under their moms, and Robert had his own room. Also, this could have been. We'll take a look there and get a picture if you want.
While in Springfield, we also went to the Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. It was interesting to see what the areas looked like back in the day. They had Lincoln there sitting by an old fire in a wood cabin, reading a book at night. One thing I really did like is they had a huge screen that showed the progression of the Civil War and all the different battles and how the line kind of fluctuated up and down as the years went by, and the number of deaths per side between the North and the South. And
as the lines changed, the territories were taken and lost.
Correct.
Yeah, that was neat.
The Civil War was definitely, we're seeing a lot more of it out here, and it's quite interesting to see the different sides, because it's not only the North or not only the South, we're seeing both sides. I mean, there was real people's lives involved in this, and real beliefs and strong held convictions that made them fight to the death and sacrifice everything they had for the belief of what they thought was right.
Yeah, it's interesting to be sort of in the history opposed to just reading it in a book or watching it in a movie.
For sure, really comes alive. There was also the Old Capitol. It was the State House from 1840 to 1876. And that's where Lincoln gave his iconic speech, "A house divided will not stand." It was really cool because we actually got to meet Lincoln, and he was a dead ringer from everything I've seen. I mean, wrinkles on the face, the beard, the height.
And he was the one who actually gave that speech, gave the speech in the Capitol.
Mr. President, gentlemen of the convention, if we could just know where we are and whether we very big tent. I think we can all better judge what to do and how to do it. We are now far into the 5th year since the policy was inaugurated with the avowed object and confident purpose of putting an end to the slavery agitation. However, under the operation of that policy, that agitation has not only not ceased, it has constantly augmented. And in my opinion, it will not cease until a crisis shall have been reached and passed. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free.
It was pretty impactful and it was fun.
Yeah, a lot of things happened in that capital. Lincoln worked there in the Supreme Court, and then he worked as a legislator as well. And that's where Obama declared his run for presidency in 2007 too.
While in Springfield, you got to visit Lincoln's tomb.
I did not know that was a thing, but it is, and it was interesting.
We visited, I think this is the 3rd or 4th presidential tomb that we visited. Can't name them right now, but watch all the other videos, you'll see it.
And then let us know.
Yeah. And Mary, Edward, Todd, and Rad are all buried at the Lincoln presidential tomb. Robert was kind of a strange fish. He got into some other weird stuff, and by request of his wife, not to be buried there. So they're buried in Arlington.
Yeah, I guess there was some family strife. Mary lost 3 of her 4 children, and that, from all reports, hit her very hard. And then once she lost her husband, she would have been in a deep depression and inconsolable. So her son wanted to put her away in a sanitarium and chose not to be buried with the family. In 1876, some people, counterfeiters, I'm not sure if that meant something different in that day, they tried to steal his body and ransom it back to the family. And they were thwarted, but the tomb was redesigned in 1901, and Robert, being kind of the only family member left, petitioned to have the body buried 10 feet deep in concrete and steel to make sure that he was not bothered ever again. As we were heading south, we got really close to the Missouri border, so popped over and took a look at some of the places over there.
The Gateway Arch is the tallest man-made monument in the Western Hemisphere.
It's a national park too. I think it might be the only one in Missouri.
Built in 1965. It broke ground in 1959. And so it took quite a long time to build it. And in the 60s, yeah, it was a lot of union labor and slow moving.
Not the prettiest wells, but hopefully it holds.
They had a good video, I think, when you go below the arch, they've got the museum, and that's also where you get onto the trolley too. But they had a good theater that had, I think, a nice portrayal of how it all came to be and the building process.
In that same park is the old courthouse, and it was built between 1839 and used to 1862.
Yeah, a lot of interesting historical events happened there as well, which was, I think, most known as the Dred and Harriet Scott case. They had their first 2 trials for freedom in 1847 and 1850, where they sued for their freedom from slavery. It was also the women's suffrage movement as well, that in 1970, Virginia Minor sued for her right to vote.
The Dred and Harriet Scott case is interesting because they were slaves in the state, and then they moved to a state that was not slave related, and then they came back, and that was their whole standing, is that they're like, well, we were in a state that was free. Yeah. And even after their master died, they were still considered property, but legally they shouldn't have been. And there was a lot of people who had fought this before, a lot of slaves that had fought this when they went out of the state.
And won.
Mm-hmm. And for some reason, this just got somebody's hair in a bind and went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Man, it was a messy time.
We also visited Robert Wadlow, the tallest man recorded in history.
You've probably heard of him.
He was within a 1/4 inch of being 9 feet tall.
He died at 22 in 1940.
By all accounts, he was just a really generous person, very well-mannered, cared for everybody. She went to school for dentistry.
I think they said he was 5'11" when he was like 8, and he was already 7'4" at 13 years old. And that almost wraps up our trip. We made one more stop before settling in at the park. That was an interesting one as well.
Yeah, it's just a roadside stop, the Pink Elephant Antique Mall. It's kind of like, I don't know, the shit show that just never moves.
Yeah.
And antique malls, I've never been to them really until this trip. And it's just a bunch of people that have little sections and they put all their knickknacks in it and try to sell their knickknacks. And, you know, like you bring the little tag up and it has number 66, so that goes to Betty Ann. And it's a lot of quirky stuff. Some of the stuff was kind of cool.
Yeah, I bought a hat pin. That was perfect, exactly what I was looking for like $8.
Yeah.
So it's one of those Route 66 roadside attractions in an old high school that closed down in 2004. They've been there since 2005. And there's a candy shop and diner. I wouldn't say find it and go, but
stop by it if you run by it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Garden of the Gods was what we were aiming for. The beautiful little area with 300 million year old sandstone formations. Kind of reminded me a lot of like Mushroom Rock State Park and that type of similar thing. Very busy, lots of people there.
What about Utah? Sort of Utah-y?
I guess, different, completely different material.
Yeah, it was white. It didn't have the lovely color that Utah does.
Yeah, and it's not as detailed. There aren't as many spires and hoodoos out in the open. This was all along the sandstone cliffs. So yeah, it could be comparable to that.
It's got big hills.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice. We spent a few days there and caught our breath after a bunch of stops and got ready to leave Illinois and head through Kentucky over to Tennessee. It was a basic dispersed campground. There were some pit toilets, no services at all. There was some younger people that were pretty loud one night, but then they left. And there was a father and son that were beside us, and one of their garbage bags broke, so they just left it. So the place was just a friggin' mess. So Tom went over and cleaned it up after they left, and before the next people came in, they didn't even know that you had done them a service and cleaned it up and got them ready for them to go.
True enough.
Got to do what you can. Leave it better than when you found it.
Oh, they're everywhere. Sorry. Apparently they're all chilling in the sun, chilling in the... It's a big cave.
That's week 40. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe and let your friends know, and happy trails.
See you out there. No, he's moving.
That's the size of my thumb. He's the size of my thumb. Oh yeah, he's working on it.
Na 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 na.
Ready?
Na, 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 na.
Ready, Freddy?
Sure. Got lots going on. There's birds happening overhead. There's ants crawling up my leg. I feel raindrops from the leaves in the trees. You've probably seen him on the, what was that World's Guinness thing? What was that?
I don't know.
World's Guinness Book of World Records?
World Book of Records? Okay.
World Book of Guinness World Records? I don't know. Some sort of combination of those words.
9 feet tall, I think. Oh, okay, yeah. No, not until you stand next to 9 feet tall. I'm 6'2", and he's just 3 feet above me. It was crazy.
It was very dwarfing.
Mr. President, gentlemen of the convention, if we could just know where we are and whether we appear to be tender, I think we can all better judge what to do and how to do it. We are now far into the 5th year since the policy was inaugurated with the avowed object and confident purpose of putting an end to the slavery agitation. However, under the operation of that policy, that agitation has not only not ceased, it has constantly augmented. And in my opinion, it will not cease until a crisis shall have been reached and passed. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. I do not expect the Union to be dissolved. I do not expect the house to fall. But I do expect it will cease to be divided. It'll become all one thing or all other. Either the opponents of slavery will arrest its farther spread and places where the public mind shall once again be at rest that it is on a course of ultimate extinction. Or its advocates are going to press it forward until it becomes a life weapon in all the states, old as well as new, north as well as south. Now, let anyone who doubts that we have now a tendency to this, think with me a moment. No, I'm not going to go into it, but so you get the picture. Lincoln was saying we are at a tipping point, essentially, and we're going to either be all free or all slave. At some point, if something isn't done,